So this is the night of 14th November 2019. And about 5 hours ago, I got an email from YouTube letting me know that some changes that need my action are coming to YouTube. Now, I've gone through the entire email. I'm telling you, the changes are huge, with a huge impact, especially on creators. Now, what is this about? So let's read through. This is my email. It says, "Hi, Dr. Victor Ngani. Important changes that may impact your monetization and content discoverability are coming. From today, all creators are required to tell us if their content is made for kids in order to comply with the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, or COPPA, and or other applicable laws. To help you comply, YouTube has introduced a new audience setting in YouTube. Essentially, in that setting, what you're required to do is to go to the settings menu, then enter, is it made for kids? Is it not made for kids? Is it, you can do this channel wide, or you can do it per video. So if in your channel you never post anything for kids, then you can select that. If you often post for kids, then you can select that. But if you sometimes post for kids, sometimes for not for kids, then you can do it by video, and that's significant. Sounds simple enough, except it's not. Now, it turns out that based on COPPA and FTC, any content that is made for kids has to be protected. And that's a good thing. And we'll see shortly what COPPA and FTC is to make us understand this. Now, the email goes on to say, depending on the amount of made for kids content in your channel, you can set your audience at either channel level or video level. We've spoken about that. And you can say channel level, no made for kids content, or a lot of made for kid contents. And then you can have a mix of both, which you can set at video level as indicated here. You can see no made for kids content here, a lot of made for kids content here, a mix of both, and you can set at different levels. Great. Now, these changes are required as part of a settlement with the US Federal Trade Commission, FTC, and the New York State Attorney, and will help to comply with the provisions of COPPA. Now, YouTube says they know these changes won't be easy for some creators, and I'll tell you why in a short while, but these are important steps to take to ensure compliance with the law. Now, please read more below to understand the legal obligations. What's changing? Okay. And this is the big part. If content is marked as made for kids on YouTube, a couple of things will happen. Number one, there'll be no comments enabled on those videos. There'll be no notifications enabled on those videos. But most importantly, YouTube will disable personalized ads on this content. Take a moment to appreciate what that does for the revenue for those content creators, and that's a big deal. And YouTube is saying as from January, they limit the data that they collect on made for kids content. Why is this happening? Again, is a discussion YouTube must have had with the FTC, the NY Attorney General, and it requires, that agreement requires compliance with COPPA. Now, regardless of your location, you are required to comply. By this, it means whether you reside in the US or outside the US. And that's essentially it. Now, YouTube requires all creators to mark their content, the audience for their content. And if that is not done, then YouTube is also implementing machine learning systems to help YouTube find content that is clearly made for kids and mark it as such. However, YouTube is also advising, do not rely on YouTube systems to set content for you. Like all automated systems, they're not perfect. If you don't set content, and if we detect error or abuse, they may set audience for you. If you fail to set your content accurately, you may face compliance issues, the FTC or other authorities, and not good. YouTube may take action on the YouTube account. So what is made for kids content? We'll look at that shortly. And YouTube says they know it won't be easy for some creators, but then the change is required, and you know what? It has to be. So to put all this into context, let's look at a couple of things. What is FTC? What is COPPA? How do we say these things are made for children? Okay, so what is the FTC? According to Wikipedia, an independent agency of the United States government established 1914 through the FTC Act. Its principal mission is the promotion of consumer protection and enforcement of civil U.S. antitrust law through the elimination of and prevention of anti-competitive business practices such as coercive monopolies and so on and so forth. According to FTC's own website, their mission is to protect consumers and competition by preventing anti-competitive, deceptive, and unfair business practices through law enforcement, advocacy, education, without unduly burdening legitimate business activities. That's their mission. Now, I've read through quite a bit around it, and it's clear that over time, in addition to what the initial goal was back in 1914, additional legislation has been made that has, has extended FTC's reach, regulatory scope, and that's how COPPA comes to be under the ambit of what FTC is required to implement. But essentially, remember, this FTC's goal is to protect consumers from unfair and deceptive practices in the marketplace and to maintain healthy competition amongst businesses. Essentially, in a way, to protect, upcoming businesses and avoid situations where there would be, unfair business practices. You've heard a lot about this antitrust lawsuits, antitrust practices, antitrust this, antitrust that. So COPPA, and this link is provided in the YouTube email, is Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. And essentially, the act was enacted in 1998 and it became effective in April of 2000. And so over time, I think the regulations have changed and there have been discussions with different groups, and YouTube certainly met with the New York Attorney General and FTC, and a couple of changes have been required. Now, the primary goal of COPPA is to place parents in control over what information is collected from the young children online. Pretty simple. The idea is to protect children under the age of 13 while accounting for the dynamic nature of the internet. The rule applies to operators of commercial websites and online services. Again, this is very important, that this rule applies only to commercial websites. So if you run a non-profit organization or a service that's not for profit, then it doesn't apply. But also, quite importantly to note from this, that it's not just YouTube that's affected. If you have a commercial website whatsoever anywhere, then this rule also applies to you, and this is really important. Again, in terms of scope, this sounds like it's all US, it's all the United States federal government, all these things. North America, maybe Canada and Mexico may be affected because they share, but I don't know. But actually, it affects everybody else across the world. And essentially, what COPPA says that if the content may be consumed by any child within the United States of America, then that content too is regulated. Now, the US is the US. Call him Big Sam, call him Uncle Sam, call him Big Brother. You know that if there's violation there, you may be held liable. Now, essentially, it's a good thing. Let's agree. Both FTC as an organization and COPPA as an act, the intention seems proper, especially in this era where every so often you find lots of personal information is on the website, on a website that you really had no clue, information has been sold and so on. And businesses that want to clamp down and avoid other young businesses from coming up. So clearly there is, the direction is good, but it isn't good for content creators, especially those who make content for young children. Now, I'm a father. I have two girls, beautiful, wonderful children. One is 8 years old, one is 2.5, fantastic children. And I tell you, they love the content on YouTube that's made for children, to the extent that we watch that more than half the time. More than half the screen time we have is for watching that. My 2.5-year-old can sing along. I can sing along. I can sing Baby Shark in my dreams. And my daughter has learned A to Z, 1 to 10, and lots of this impressive development is from what she's learned from some fantastic videos, Dave and Eva, all Cocomel, all these things, all these channels have been tremendously useful, and I haven't really thought about any of these things. But so let's go back to the YouTube video and understand how all these things come together and why it's such a big deal what this change is. So now that we understand what COPPA is and we understand what FTC is, then we can see where all these things come together. So YouTube is a commercial website, meaning that the COPPA rules apply to YouTube. Number two, you can see that whenever you're online, and you know this already, I hope by now, whenever you're online, then there's data and information that is collected by the website that you visit. And you can read whichever privacy policy that you want, whatever content you use online, quite likely there's some information about it that's going to be collected. Now, the website is collecting information regardless of who it is that is watching. And if there's content that is targeting children under the age of 13, those children are likely to consume that content. And when they consume that content, information will be collected nonetheless. And so COPPA is trying to limit collection of that information from children. Why? Children do not have the same level of understanding or experience to understand the implications of freely sharing information or releasing information out into the public. Children will click on buttons that they wouldn't know the implication of. Children are very trusting, and whereas an adult may have a sense of self restrict themselves to understand there's some risk here, children may not understand the same risks. And in addition to that, it's not prudent, and many parents won't allow their children's information to be shared online without their permission. Now, many parents would post wonderful videos. I do post videos of my children and a couple of things when they make me proud, singing beautiful songs, funny stuff that they do. I'll post that, but then something that I deliberately go ahead to post. But then what about things that a machine picks up, submits, and FTC is saying those things need to be regulated, and need to be saying, okay, fine, we are not going to collect that information anymore. And what that also means is YouTube is saying they'll also not drive personalized ads on that content. And that means that if your content is meant for children, then you will see a catastrophic dip in revenue. And essentially that's what it means. So I'll just show you, because as I mentioned, I didn't know this email was coming. My laptop, my daughters, whenever they use it, essentially they just watch this this beautiful content, and I really appreciate, Dave and Ava, all these guys, you do a fantastic job. God bless you. The content is fantastic, and I just can't imagine what this means for you. So let me just show you what this means in terms of revenue. People talk about $7 per 1,000 views, ad views. This children content made for children have views in the excess of 50 million, 500 million, 400 million views. Not all those are ad views, but again, the content is more than 1 hour in most of these cases. So I can just imagine what that means to these creators who've put in a lot of work, a lot of effort to bring great content. This is what my daughter was watching, English Rhymes. This is done by Dave and Ava, 8.7 million subscribers, 52 million views. You can see 52 million views here. You can see 20 million views on this video, 51 million views on this video, 569 views on this video here. And this is just one channel. We look at, I can sing Baby Shark now if I had to, and 12 million views, talking about 17 million views, 53 million views. And these are videos, they're not short videos, 1 hour 40, 36 minutes, 1 hour 40, 1 hour video. My goodness, it's the impact. if you are a content creator, you know what that means. And I really feel for these creators. I want to say this content is amazing. I really encourage, I found it beneficial to my child. And yes, I'm speaking as a parent, and I don't know what to say. We don't watch mainstream TV anymore with the children. We watch this primarily, and yeah, I sing along all these songs. Yeah, so essentially, in my understanding, most of these videos we no longer have personalized ads running on them, and that's a big deal. So how do you know whether your content is made for kids? So again, kids in the context of the FTC and also COPPA means basically children under the age of 13, that's 12 and below. And according to FTC guidance, a video is child directed. So child directed is the actual term. I think made for kids is a YouTube term, which is well friendlier, quite clearer now. If children are the primary audience based on a couple of factors, we look at those factors, or children are not the primary audience, but the video is still directed at children based on the same factors. Now, when deciding whether or not your channel or video is made for kids, you should consider various factors, including one, subject matter of the video. Is it educational content for young children? Is it something that really speaks to and is directed at children? Now, whether the children are intended or actual audience for the video. So two things: the intention is to have children be the principal viewers, or it turns out the intention wasn't for children, but the actual audience turns out to be children. Now, whether the video includes child actors or models. Now, this is a very gray area, because a lot of child actors or models, do stuff that's meant for adult consumption. So again, that will need to be clarified further. But then, whether the video includes characters, celebrities, or toys that appeal to children, including animated characters or beautiful cartoon figures, or ugly cartoon figures or cartoon figures. Now, whether the language of the video is intended for children to understand. So in a nutshell, going forward, use big words. Whether the video includes I'm joking, please don't take it seriously. Whether the video includes activities that appeal to children, such as play acting, simple songs or games, or early education. Whether the video includes songs, stories, or poems for children. Any other information you may have to help determine your video's audience, like empirical evidence of the video's audience. Now, this means that after some time you look at your age group, who's watching your video, then you find it's largely children, then that's empirical evidence that your video's audience is children, and therefore it's made for children. I think this is evolving. YouTube has given a disclaimer there saying that indeed the guidance here is not very clear. There is a lot of discussion around it. They'll be testing a couple of things over the next couple of months and see how these things work. And we see now the good thing is that YouTube has placed the big chunk of this decision on the creators themselves. And YouTube says that the creator knows best their videos. Now, I have a feeling this is because YouTube is complying, not doing this out of its own volition. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but that's the case. So in a nutshell, I think the concept is proper to protect children. The idea of consumer protection is fantastic, and we should adopt this across. But then the people who make the content, such as what my daughter watches on YouTube, have done a fantastic job. I would want them to keep making such videos. I don't want them to make it for free. It's something that costs them a lot of money. I know they've invested heavily in it. And so I don't know how these two ideals could work out in a way that these great content creators don't lose, but also our kids are safe online. So do let me know what you think. Post a comment down, and if you find that this is useful, please share. Now, what I've not done is to show you how to make this settings. Again, just go to your YouTube channel, go to settings. I think under advanced tab you'll find a place, and again YouTube has given the guidelines for this. You'll find you're able to determine whether it's the three options really, radio buttons. One is this is not for children, not meant for kids. I don't post kids content. I never actually, it says I never post kids. Now that's difficult. How can you say I never post kids content? But anyway, that's that. Then I often post, and then you can go video wise. Now if you have tons of videos, okay, that's gonna be a problem. Great, so that's it. Let me know what you think. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, please share. That's it. See you guys, bye. And I hope it works out for the creators who make the content we've spoken about. And to sign out, was this information useful? Certainly. Oops, there we go. Thank you. Bye.